got a grid, we've got some lights, we've got some engine notes, and we're about to go racing here at Aragon for the second race meeting of the NGK Sparkles eSports Cup. We're off the way down towards turn number 1. It's a great start from Alex Boyson, who takes the race lead early on from Senior Guinea. Guinea's actually going to end up risking losing another spot here, because here comes Villacrevi in the Mercedes. Green versus red as they head their way through the first sector. Maximilian Lorenz is behind this one, potentially in the Audi, try and steal a couple of positions away, although the Audi is super loose and loses a good couple of spots as a result. 3 wide to the left-hander, and someone's around. One of the Mercedes collects, or rather one of the Porsches collects a good couple of cars behind. That is not ideal whatsoever, and it's caused more 3 wide situations going on further back in the pack. I believe that was potentially Filippo Zenna, Renault Guermignon also involved in that one. A couple of drivers cycling themselves towards the very bottom of the order as the 2 wide continues in the mid-pack. The order shaken up already due to an incident towards the top 5 of the field. Here at Aragon, 20 minutes this race number 1. Race 2, 20 minutes as well, but with that reverse grid, things are strung out single file, at least inside the vast majority of the top 10. In fact, as far as the eye can see down further down the field, things seem to have calmed down with regards to the side-by-side moments just for the time being, but they're heading their way down the back straight now, just getting towards the end of it. This is where you can send it on the brakes. Looks like that's exactly what Mihai Neg is going to try and do over Sebastian Ree. You can see the sparks fly as they make a little bit of contact with the apex of the corner, but it seems like we've been able to get themselves through on that relatively okay as they head their way across the start-finish line to complete lap number 1 here of this 20-minute event. And Neg is going to have a little look to the inside once again, but not going to be successful this time around. Cernal has a run behind him, has a run around the outside here, which might be successful coming through turn 2, turn 3, but he's dipped 2 tires into the grass. He has to force himself wide, and that is going to be the end of Nico Cernal's attack, and it might even turn into a defense, because he's now got Steph Cravers behind him, Kilian Gijek, he got Daniel Arvan all involved in this train further back as well. See these are Cravers there having to on the defence back to the Audi of his compatriot in the Audi. And someone's been behind. Here Daniel's been spun. Daniel Parvin around as well. And again, having to wait for that traffic to come through. You don't want to risk an unsafe rejoin lest you get a penalty, even if you were going to get one in the incident itself. Here, Daniel sliding down the order. Daniel Parvin was the Mercedes that seemed to have made contact with him. So lots of drivers having trouble early on here at Aragon. And it seems like the battles continue further down the line here. This is battle between 24. It's Craig Curtis and Renault Guermignon. Moving on, of course, a bit of recovery from early race problems. Back to the race lead though there. Dueling it out side by side for the exit of the hairpin. And it looks like Alex Boyson just about has been able to hold on to position. But Senior Guinea is not going to let him get away easily whatsoever. It's Audi versus Mercedes here at the very front of the field, and though they battled a little bit there, they still maintain over 1 second gap back to the fin of Villacrevi. Great to see these guys in action here at the very front of the field. Perhaps the primary concern for them at the moment is just try and break away even more from Villacrevi, but it doesn't seem like Guinea is really, or Guinea, I'm not entirely sure about the pronunciation, to be honest. Not having any of it. He's really pressuring the rear end of Alex Boyson, the German. The Audi ahead, pulling off the back just a little bit more. It's given it a little bit of time to Villacrevi. This is always the risk if you decide to battle, is that third, fourth, fifth parties behind you start to get themselves involved. You don't make the pass clinical. Still got Ballas further down the field. P18 between Lee Savano, Dmitriev, the Bulgarian. We've got Marius Sapta, Rene Irma, all involved in this train. The recovering Pella Daniel as well. Just try and pick up a couple of spots to solidify himself inside the points paying positions. Points paying positions down to P21, remember. So these guys are only just getting themselves a handful of points. It's a handful of points that can very much matter, especially if you're trying to qualify through the quote-unquote last 16 in terms of points at the very end of the qualification period. This Yaroslav Dmitriev versus Enzo Filipao. P16 between the two Porsches. Dmitriev immediately having to go defensive here down in towards turn number 1, but now showing no threat here at the moment. Going to try a little bit of a comeback coming off the corner, gain a little bit of excess speed and maybe make a challenge of it. Coming through turn 2 and now to the inside through turn 3. They make contact and there's a spinner ahead as well. Soren Jager has had big problems and so can't be swinging in front of traffic like that. 2 incidents, 2 unrelated incidents within the space of half a second. And more problems further back as Zenner is forced wide. Fortunately, everyone, we as much as I would love to do replays of everything that's been happening so far, I can't. It's just the nature of things. 13 minutes left to go here in race number 1. Still all to play for as far as, well, many positions up and down the order. In particular for the race leads. Moisten still leads after gaining that off at the start. By only 0.3 of a second. He's still very much within drafting range. That is a very, very scary prospect, especially considering the long back straight here in the circuit. They're on right now. Guine closing in. Guine gonna force himself down to the inside once again. Alpha P1 on your screens as Moisten tries to swing it around the outside to try and get the pass back. They're gonna rub doors. Coming through the exit of the corner. Through the final corner they come. Drag race across the start-finish line. 0.06 of a second going the way of Alex Moisten here at the moment. He's not going to be clear down in towards turn number 1. And Guine will have the inside. His line is compromised coming off the corner. This is fantastic racing between the two of them. Moisten will have the speed and have the ground around the outside to try and maintain position that he has. This is a fantastic fight between the Audi and the Mercedes. And there's a fight brewing behind as well as Guine sends it down and in. Moisten will give him the space and Guine's been able to gain the race lead. Fantastic opportunistic pass. The Turkish driver has got him P1. Returning to the pointy end of the field after qualifying. But look at what it's done to the time. Back to Villacrevi, back to Maximilian Lorenz. They're on their tail now. The onboard cam with Maximilian Lorenz as he's been following through in the tyre tracks of Villacrevi. Ballas sports car certainly in contention here now. Look at the gap that Guine is trying to pull at the very front though, just stamping his authority on this race. He's got a second, a full second back to Alex Moisten already. It's not even half a lap yet since, not even a full lap since he passed. And Moisten's going to come under threat now because that was a signer going to the inside from Crevi. And Lorenz pressuring the back of the Mercedes as well. to the halfway point of this race now. Guinea leads from Moisen, from Prevy. That's your top three. Perhaps top four is more significant to talk about, given the top four in points at the end of today. From these two races, doesn't matter what they did at Spa. Top four in points from these two races alone will be able to get themselves their slot booked into the final in March at Nordschleife. Again, the points get reset, so the winner at Nordschleife is the winner of the entire championship. Gap stabilised out a little bit towards P1. Hasn't gone that much over that 1 second mark between Guinea and Moisen. In fact, Moisen's actually going to gain a little bit in this sector. Guinea not safe for the moment. Yes, he has a bit of a buffer. It's not a comfortable buffer whatsoever. He'll easily be gobbled up by the drivers behind. Savano and Peter Daniel. This is the battle for P17 now on circuit here at the moment. Driver from Macau, driver from the Czech Republic doing battle here. Not actively side by side just yet, but close to being able to do so. Both of these drivers, of course, as far ranking Johnson around number one of the competition. However, they did not finish top four in points at the end of those two races, so therefore they're having to race here today. It's given they're only fighting for P17 and 18. Doesn't look like it's going to be a points haul here today either. Savano holding on to the position just for the moment. Daniel in the Audi, out of the final corner, might just have a chance here in towards turn one. Georgiev behind, also looking to try and get stuck in. There's the angle to the inside for Peter Daniel. It's, well, door left open. Door left completely open there. So the Audi to try and work its way through. And Peter Daniel gets the position. P17. Now Georgiev just stick his fingers in. Trapped down that Mercedes. Pushing hard though, out wide onto the curb. Some of those little mistakes do tend to just use tiny bits of time here and there. Oh, there's been a big problem, big problem back there. Jonas Riedel having an issue. There was someone else as well. It was Christian Orban, the Hungarian driver, that was also involved in a little bit of a scrap back there that ended in a few tears. Towards the front of the field where things are strung out just a little bit more. Sydney Guinea now 1.2 seconds ahead of Alex Moisen. The Krabi about a second further behind, and Laurent another second further behind that. The things spreading out here at the very front of the field. However, battle going on for the top 12. This is Roland Sen versus Ian Egan. Little bit of a snap there from the Swede. Seems to have gathered it up well done. Who's that? Oh, that's Maximilian Lorenz. Maximilian Lorenz off. One of your top 5 runners, and one of the Porsches has to take avoiding action. That's Lucas Vollering spinning out into the gravel trap on the outside there. That is why you have to rejoin safely. Otherwise, cars will just have to wrench their steering wheels one way or the other. They're going to be massively impeded. Lucas Vollering will not have appreciated how that was handled. Of course, any penalties, any stewards reviews will be happening after the race. Penalties don't get dished out during in these sorts of races. Not sure exactly what caused Maxwell and Lorenz to just go so far wide and have massive problems through the middle sector there. No one was really close, so we can't complete contact. This train though, this train that's built up behind Maximilian Lorenz. Roland Sen in Jäger, you've got Luca Schubeck and also Enzo Filipao here in this one as well. Big old drafting train down in towards the hairpin and a look to the inside for Enzo Filipao over Schubeck, and he's able to get the position done, but can he defend it coming off the corner? It's so easy for that car on the outside to dip a nose back in underneath and try and get the cut back on you. Battle further up the field as well for P4. This is behind Neg. This is Nico Cernal in this situation. Thought the battles were all done at the very front of the field. Apparently not. These two going at it now. Oh, that's a mistake there from Neg, leaving the door open for Cernal. As Cernal rubs the door, coming through the exit of the corner. Mercedes versus Porsche in through the right-hander now. Cernal's done well to hold it around the outside there, but he might just have lost a little bit too much ground to maintain the overlap. Neg maintains that Mercedes ahead. Just a handful of laps to go. This battle's not done just yet, I don't think. Speaking of battles not being done, the one down here is not done either. Ian Egan gonna have a little bit of a ride on boards with this particular driver. There he is, trying to track down Roland Sen, trying to promote himself up into what would be a well-deserved 11th place. He's got pressure from behind from Enzo Filipao, which is going to cause him a bit of an issue here through the final couple of laps. Onto the long back straight. Filipao behind, going to be closing in, closing in. There we go. That's the view of it. That Porsche just slowly but surely gaining ground on the way down into the braking zone, and an angle to the inside there for Filipao to try and get past the Irishman of Ian Egan. And well, Egan's going to fight him back off the corner. As I've said many times, you can do that coming off the hairpin. And now coming out into the final corner, it's a shallower line being taken by Filipao, which might compromise him down the straight here. Egan might have another opportunity. Active battle going on with P4 as well. The opportunity does not arise for Egan. So we have to jump back further forward. 2 minutes left to go here in race one. Remember, we have another race after this one. Definitely don't want to go away when this is done. Especially with how the battling has been. The reverse grid being thrown into it as well. Recipe for a good time as far as I'm concerned. It's been a great battle though between Cernal and Neg. Bit of ground now, half a second to Cernal. It means that Sebastian Rie is starting to close in. The closer he gets, the more significant the slipstream down the back straight will be. Potentially the more problems that Neg will have to deal with. Lost another tenth of a second to Cernal through that complex alone. That's really a corner that you can't really mess up. Lest you compromise your entire run down the straight. 42 seconds left on the clock when those guys cross the line. Well, less than that. It's going to be about 32 seconds as Simagic heads his way across the line. So this is the start of the final lap here. Gine leading by 1.7. Very much clear from Alex Boyson at this stage. Battle further back, P12. Roland Sen versus Ian Egan. watch this one develop over the last couple of laps, and it might come to the head in the final one. And there we go, down to the inside goes Ronald Sen, but that is a massive send. That didn't quite work. Sends the Swede further down the order, behind Schubeck now, might even lose the position to Dmitriev. He's tried his level best to not make that happen, but it's inevitable. And here comes Lucas Vollering as well, around the outside, having an attempt. Not going to be successful in doing so though. There's Simagic though. It hasn't been a quiet race for the Turkish driver. Of course, losing the race lead early on to Max Boyson, but that didn't faze him, didn't panic whatsoever. Got himself back up into the race lead and has just extended this gap now up to 2.5 seconds back to Alex Boyson. It's been a very accomplished drive here for Simagic. Just a straight and a couple more corners to go. The driver of the Mercedes, no problems whatsoever from behind, no pressure whatsoever for Simagic as he's slow through the hairpin. He's slow through the hairpin. Why is he slowing up? This is an interesting situation. I think he's still got the gap back to Alex Boyson. He was maybe playing with us a little bit there. Simagic heads his way across the line to take the race win in race 1 here at Aragon. The second race meeting of the NGK Sparkplugs eSports Cup. A couple of unresolved battles further down the field. Steph Kramers ahead into P8, ahead of Linus Gurise. You look back to the Dmitriev, to the Sen and Vollering battle. They all come across the line. Pretty much single file. Things fizzling out there in the mid-pack towards the very end of the race as the back of the field starts to trundle its way across the start-finish line. But the man at the moment though, Simagic, a very mature drive from the driver of the Mercedes. And that's one step closer to the finale at the Nordschleife. These are the unofficial race results, remember, so any penalties that the stewards may apply will be applied after the race, not during. So these are provisional, but it is Simagic taking the race win with Alex Boyson in P2, Villacreve in P3. Then you got Cernil, Neg, Guditz. I'm going to struggle with the Dutch pronunciation there. You got Steph Kramers, Linus Gurise, and Maximilian Lorenz rounding up the top 10 drivers. But we do have a second race on the cards here, second race to be able to get going on with. And soon we'll be able to get ourselves inside the session to be able to get ourselves coverage of that second race. We are having a little bit of trouble getting ourselves all sorted here, but should be in relatively short order that we're going to be getting into the session here. But while we're doing that, of course, we can have a little bit of a chat about what we saw. Of course, Simagic taking the race win. Remember, top 4 in each of the races. Well, not in each of the races, but in the combination of the 2 races of a race weekend. Top 4 in that will be getting themselves their qualification spot into the next stage of competition, as it seems like we've got ourselves our race 2 underway already. It seems as we were a little bit delayed heading into the serve. There's not a lot of warm-up time for us to actually resolve those issues, but race is underway here for race number 2. It is Maximilian Lorenz taking the race lead early on with Steph Kramers in P2, Linus Gurise in P3 with Kilian Gagets in P4, Nico Cernil in P5 here as things run, as everyone just tries to get themselves loaded in. Mihai Neg in P6 with Enzo Filipao in P7. Then you've got Roland Sen here in race 2 in P8 with Alex Boyson in P9 and Yaroslav Dmitriev rounding out the top 10. Simagic has actually lost 1 spot off of the start here, so that is an interesting situation. He's down in P11. Remember, there was a top 10 reverse grid coming into this one. So that's is a very big point, because if you get trapped back there as the winner of race 1, then your race 2 can be a little bit more concerning. And as you can see, Guinea is now getting pressure from behind, as Marius Zabter is the one applying that pressure to the fellow Mercedes. Having a look at the battle for P4 going on though. Nico Cernel, slight overlap on driver's left-hand side there of Kilian Gudins. Again, I'm going to butcher that pronunciation every single time. Down the back straight they go, having a little bit of a drag race. Cernel has the preferred inside line, but switchback possibilities always present into the hairpin. There we go, Nico Cernel sliding himself ahead of the Dutch driver. Mihai Neg and Enzo Filipao, they're the ones that are going to next do battle, heading their way across the start-finish line. Immediate defense there from Mihai Neg, wanting to cover off that inside in towards turn number 1, and has done so pretty successfully. But the problem is not allowing that driver to sneak back underneath through the next sequence of corners. Filipao is trying his best to try and make that happen. Going to gain a bunch of speed here, maybe in towards turn number 3. Not going to quite make it happen though. To the back of the field, you have things very much stacked up, and even 3 wide. Just briefly there, amongst a couple of them is Soren Jager, that's currently in the middle of this battle pack and getting bullied left, right and centre. His doors getting smashed, his bumpers getting bumped, and it's not a fun day in that Porsche, it seems, as he continues on the battles here in and around Craig Curtis and Renaud Herbin on as well. A little bit chaotic back here in the pack. These aren't even the fights for the final points paying position either. Here we go. Now on the inside, look, Soren Jager over Daniel Berker. Berker going to push out wide there, going to lose the spot to Soren Jager. It's a mistake that results in a net loss of 1 position. Oh, that was a big problem there. Craig Curtis. Audi, this driver, big off there in towards the chicane. Able to get back going though, albeit right at the very back of the fields. Simagic trying to, that's our race 1 winner. He's just about got himself back up into P10. Not been the most ideal start to a race 2 for a race winner that we've seen. We typically see them try to press on forwards immediately and get a couple of positions on the initial 2 laps, but that simply hasn't happened for Simagic, and it's going to make life a little bit more difficult for the coming up to 15 minutes that we have remaining. On the race lead, Maximilian Lorenz has done a very good job in extending that gap here in the early stages. He's got 1.7 seconds back to Steph Kramers, which is an awesome margin. With only 5 minutes gone in the race, Lorenz in a very comfortable position indeed. Battle for P3 is less comfortable though. Lance Gruse only has just shy of half a second over Cernel. Cernel has shown a good amount of strength so far in this particular event. That Dutch driver that I can't pronounce. It's read as, oh, so throat sounds like, I can't do that sound unfortunately. that's definitely not natural. So we've had cars go off there in the background. That's Enzo Filipao. Straight back into a 3-wide situation with Alex Moysen and Roland Sen. And now it's Simeon Guinea on the back of these guys, and that is the last thing these guys would have wanted to hear. A Simagic, he has a spin coming off the corner, and there was an impact with the barrier there with the rear end as well. Might be damage to our race one winner. He's going to limp it down in towards turn number 1. But it looks like that rear wing is very slightly bent out of shape. I take my eyes off the screen for just a moment. Agine decides to bin it and send himself down to P18. Now ASDB hoping that he can gain enough positions on this recovery drive to try and finish in top 4 across the 2 races, because if he can't, he's going to have to come back to the race of Dubai. Oh, how things change here in racing. I'm not sure if that was a full self-spin or if he got tagged from behind. Wasn't exactly clear from my point of view. That really changes things up now, especially in terms of the top 4 in terms of points. As Cernal! Oh, he loses the back end and sends it into the Armco. An unforced error from the German. And that Porsche is not as it rolled off the showroom floor. Heavy front end impact. Lucky not front engines, but of course radiator damage, aero damage, suspension damage, all big factors. Still's going to try and go around the outside of Dmitriev, so still trying to prove that he has some form of pace, despite the significant damage. I think the damage will start to be more telling as he has another instant out of the final corner. Cars scatter behind to try to avoid, and thankfully everyone does. But that was a symptom of the damage, and he might take the tow back to pit lane here. It would be the sensible thing to do instead of trying to limp it around for another lap. So he is letting the entire field by. He could be continuing on here despite it. We've had so much drama, we've had so many self-spin incidents. And oh, there's more problems. Trying to get an ID on the driver, that's Georgiev. The Bulgarian driver filing down into P19 now. We haven't even got half this race to go yet. Still so many drivers having problems, perhaps driving beyond their abilities. In our race room YouTube chat says, would he still be able to get P4 because of quali points? It depends on how the mathematics works out, I'm afraid. There is points for qualifying, or rather there are points for qualifying, just not that many. Just 3 points for pole position, 2 points for seconds, 3 points for third, sorry. There we go, battle for P3 though going on your screen right now. Mihai battling with Linus Garise. Then keeps himself P3 for now. Tries to give chase to Steph Kramer's further down the road, less than 2 seconds. Simagic also on the back of Filippo Zenna. So this is a recovering Simagic. Looking around the outside despite the damage to the rear end. Car not looking entirely settled, although does he maintain the overlap here? No, he does not. That rear wing is at a jaunty angle. Not going to help with the rear end stability. Through the high-speed section. Meanwhile, Filippo just letting it, Alex Moysen go there. Not sure if there was some form of slowdown for the Frenchman, but that was an easy one to give up. Perhaps deliberately so. What Baxter's hand was forced due to penalty. half the time to go now. Just below 9 minutes left on the clock. Lorenza's done so well in the race lead. 3 seconds now back to Steph Kramers. So lots of buffer to work with. This is Simagic, of course, on his recovery drive. Struggling to get past Filippo Zena here for the moment. Zena running very, very well indeed. Has there been more problems here? I just saw a yellow flag up very, very briefly on my screen there. I'm not sure if anyone had a problem. Would have been in this region. There was. I think Villa Gravy might have been part of it in the 11th there. Gine has been able to get past Zena, and Zena in the process of losing the position to Gine, instead also loses the position to Lukas Schubeck as well. So Schubeck picking up 3-1 thanks to the move from Sidney Gine. Gine up to the 15th place, which if you're wondering, will gift him 7 points. So pole position, 3 points. Race 1 win is 40 points. It's 50 points enough for you to get inside the top 4. Depends on, someone pointed out in the chat very helpfully, it depends on where the rest of the top finishers in race 1 are finishing right now. Alex Moysen there in P6 going along rather well, and he has a few cars further down the road that are potential overtakes. Less than 7 minutes to go now. There's Roland Sen versus Marius Sabter, the 2 red Mercedes, looking to overlap on the way in towards the hairpin. Zabter looking, Sen kind of parked the bus on the apex there. There was no run for Zabter to use coming off the corner despite the wide arc in. Bit on the excellence on the corners. Of course, you can push these tyres pretty hard in these races. Of course, GT3 tyres usually have no problems about lasting an hour, normal fuel stint. So in a 20-minute event, really, really lean on them. Normal tyre wear in effect for this. So some series might run accelerated tyre wear just to spice things up towards the end of these runs, but they're running just the normal tyre wear here, so should be no problems in leaning on the tyres a little bit for 20 minutes. They can last for so much longer in normal endurance racing configuration, for example. Alpha P18 on your screen, René Herme, you've got Lucas Vollering, Sebastian Ree all involved in this one. Vollering around the outside, can't quite get it done there. Opens up an opportunity for Sebastian Ree. He just sticks a nose in, shows a nose. Continue this battle. Ooh, Vollering. That's a toe back to the pit lane. That is a toe back to the pit lane. And is that a disqualification, I see? He does have a black flag. So I have to wonder what that is about. Unserved slowdown penalty. Too many cut tracks, who knows? So that means that Lucas Vollering will not score any points from this race. The other disqualification that we had was Herbing on as well. Side by side between Ree and Riedel. That's quite fun to say. Ree and Riedel side by side through the hairpin, and looks like Riedel's going to be able to get this one around the outside. Brilliantly done. battle within 0.6 of a second for P3. Neg is also doing a relatively okay job at tracking down Steph Kramer as he gained about 3.5 of a second on that previous lap alone, did Neg. So this is looking very, very good indeed for the Romanian driver. Currently sandwiched between the two Dutchmen. On his recovery drive. Now is up behind Marcel Holak for P14. Despite the damage, Ine has been able to pull off these passes so far, and it will be helped by a little mistake from the German. Well, this may just be an easy pass complete for Ine. Holak's going to continue to fight it though. He's just going to be losing ground down the back straight. He will dump back inside the slipstream to make sure any move from Schubeck is a little bit less possible. Schubeck's going to show the nose regardless, and well, it's more than show the nose. He's going to dive it straight in and try and follow through the tyre tracks of Guine, and he's done that rather well, hasn't he? Great stuff from Schubeck. Up into P15. A couple more points to his name. Holak losing 2 positions in quick succession. P6, Alex Moisa and Enzo Filipao. Very, very close out there on circuit, especially at such a late stage. We've just got a handful of laps to go now. The race leader, Maximilian Lorenz, has had a very comfortable time. Absolutely untroubled at the very front of the field since the drop of the green flag. Times are in the 1:56 range. Continuing to extend the gap back to Steph Kramer's. It's been an impressive performance from Lorenz. Kind of mirroring what Guine did in the first race. Absolutely untouchable. Izzy Negan and Villa Krevi having a little bit of a fight here. Great to see these two guys do battle. Seconds left remaining. Where is Lorenz out there on circuit? Well, he's just coming out of the final corner now. So this will be the start of the final lap here in race 2. Lorenz absolutely untroubled in the very front of the field. However, battle for P2 might just be a possibility. Steph Kramers, Mihai Neg, both in with a shot. Let's have a look at Mihai Neg, why not? There he is. He's worked so hard on trying to gain this P2. And now he might just have a chance right at the very dying moments of this race. Having to look and having to think it'll be done at the bus stop, or rather not at the bus stop, at the hairpin, at the very end of the lap at this stage. That's the last massive overtaking opportunity that you can use. Neg just needs to put himself in the right place at the right time, coming across the, well, at the start of the back straight, and then he might just have himself a chance. Clock has hit 0. There's the confirmation that this race is done. Maximilian Lorenz, well, he's had a fantastic run indeed. He's going towards the back end of the lap now. There's Mihai Neg and Steph Kramers. There's the battle for P2 that we've been talking about. On to the back straight they go. Lorenz 5 seconds ahead of that battle. He's absolutely clear and plain sailing to the very end of this one. What's going to happen for P2 though? That is also a very, very big question indeed. However, I don't think Neg is close enough to be able to make this move happen. Close up on the brakes as much as possible, but I don't think it's going to be a thing that's going to happen as you see Maximilian Lorenz head his way out of the final corner to take the race to win here at Aragon for the NGK Sparkplugs eSports Cup. Second race meeting. There's Kramer's taking P2 after an amazing defense. And Mihai Neg, of course, P3 as well. He's still going to be happy with that result despite closing the gap at the very last moment.